Welcome to Allegedly Higher, where humor, insight, and passion collide with higher education. Hosted by Dr. Erin and Dr. Candice. Join them as they dive into headlines, interview leaders, and challenge norms. From dismantling systems to championing equity, this podcast is your go-to for transforming the ivory tower. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Allegedly Higher, the podcast where we dissect issues in higher education through a human centered lens, spiced up with a pop culture flair. I'm Dr. Erin, and my lovely co host is Dr. Candice. And
Hello,
together,
everyone.
we are your guides through this maze of academia. I hate saying every episode. It's been a while.
Lifing, people. Life is lifing.
Season 1, we were spitting them out. What was the difference?
Get, I don't know. We've got to do better.
Yeah.
I think what happened, when did we start? 2024?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I just think that we were doing so much. We're doing so much individually. And then there's just sort of the election happened, I think.
Yeah.
And the things, and it is, we have to acknowledge and give ourselves grace because, and I'm going to keep saying this, because that's a lot to internalize. Like when people hate the very existence of your being and you hear it and you see it and it's manifesting on a daily basis, I think that's a lot. And I think that that's probably, particularly when you have to see, and we work in higher ed and and having to deal with people and students and how this is gonna affect them. Like, it's an all-encompassing kinda thing. So I think that sometimes we just could not voice the thing that we're all having to deal with.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't voice my opinion publicly. It was
We're in the wrong person. Yes, you get it.
and it's a lot of people that would call me
I
and
can't voice it in the way in which I'd like to because I am currently employed with a W-2, but also that sometimes some words are, it might be peppered with hard Ks, and compound
and we
words.
both we both are ministers and missionaries.
We try to be delivered from that, but sometimes a hard K and a compound word with a hard K may come out, and so I think.
And it's the only point in my life that I actually have those words wanna come out my mouth.
Right, right.
Everything else, I'm fine. It really
No.
is higher education. It really does it gets you
Test the
going.
limits and the bounds of what is,
Yeah.
appropriately possible.
Yeah, I'm trying to think the last episode we did was when, yeah, Ruby Ma and Pop Papoose.
Oh god, yes.
Talked about that. That's all still an ongoing trash. Kim was a lawyer. Oh, we didn't talk about that. We did leave that out. Oh, and
Which
Sinners
one?
was out. Sinners.
Sinners was out? Yeah, oh my god, the movie of the year,
Yeah. So yeah, that's it's been a minute.
and I still maintain the Academy better do the right thing.
Oh yeah, it's that time. It's their time.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
better do the right thing. I promise you they better do the right thing.
Yeah. And since then, it's been, yeah, it's been I actually want to do I read a couple articles. I have articles, I say bookmark from, IG to the news to I have articles that I just need to find.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Uh, but there was one and actually, there was on LinkedIn as well.
Mhm.
Because since then, there was a lot of higher education things unfolding at that time. So election got in February, March, April, May. It was something different every week. But I do want to commit, at least on this podcast, to talking about what the news somehow missed is that
Mhm.
a lot of those things that had happened really quickly are now overturned. Harvard, they made them give Harvard their
Mhm.
50,000,000 or maybe more than that, $50,000,000. What was something that I just read on LinkedIn that the courts pushed through and it was reversed? So a lot of this stuff is reversed, but the news don't pick that up.
Right.
Of course, we
Yeah,
can't
and
make
then
do
they
the
keep
money.
espousing the hatred of it all. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I want to actually pull more of those stories about we get in uproar about the number, you know, the first thing that happened, but we don't go back
Mhm.
to what was the outcome of it. So yeah, I think that's what happened. Besides that, I didn't have a voice all September. Now September 26th. So yeah, that's what happened in September, August, back to school for you. Yeah, July was me coming off of my 40th birthday
Happy birthday to you.
full vacation in June. I
Yeah.
did take the that was my somebody asked me, they was like, "Dr. Wheeler, what did you do for your 40th?" And I was like, "I quit adulting for about 3 months.
I
I
guess
quit
there's so much
adulting, and I
happened.
lived the life that I wanted to for 3 months."
That I mean, and everybody needs that reset.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think that people really understand what that means. So, with having that kind of wellness reset, time to yourself, to prioritize yourself, because, when we left,
Mhm.
place, I had been working since I was 15 continuously. I was working, school, working, school.
And multiple jobs for me.
Right, and so in 2017, that was the first time I had been allowed to be adrift.
Mhm.
And the beauty of being adrift, to think about other things, and I think so kudos to you, happy birthday, that you allowed yourself the space and grace to be adrift, to reset, and so now here we are.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I was just writing about that. I am working on a limited series podcast of thriving in transition.
mm,
It was my way of, the 300,000 Black women, that's just by estimation of whatever however they do the unemployment numbers, but it's probably more, are
mhm,
out of work because of different policies, and, I'm sharing I had one article that I wrote during that 2017 time of, like, actually taking advantage of unemployment, which is still taking advantage of the time, you still got breath and light, right? And so you don't wanna lose that behind a career. We understand that that is for America. I wanna
mhm,
be very clear. For America, that a loss of career is a loss of identity. That's not
mhm,
how the world thinks. And so it is a very crazy time. You already tired and toxic and praying every day that you need a break. But when
mhm,
you actually get the break, then you scared and you wanna go back to work. So we've been through it all several
yeah,
times. I'm still in part 2, that's what I explained. I'm 2 in my transition. I'm still transitioning from full-time to entrepreneurship
mhm,
in my mind and lifestyle. Yeah, thriving in transition, it is definitely possible to do.
it
And
is.
yeah, so, yeah. Anything else that's been exciting since our last episode?
Not really, I mean, just on the grind. I'm finally making a little headway on my novel, so hopefully I can get
You
that
had a
done.
lot of headway.
I made yeah, made quite a few, and
Good job. It's a all her novels are good. I do read it, and I tell her, "Don't tell me until I read it." Sometimes I don't
I
want to brainstorm ideas, I want to read it as a reader. That is it.
no, right. So, I think I'm kinda there and getting in a good flow, just need a couple of really just need to be holed up somewhere to draft it out, maybe send the husband off on a golf trip or something, um, or whenever he
We've been
to be
saying
able
we
to
were doing we definitely need writing retreats.
yeah, and to stay focused, but I'm also working on this collection of poems of Black women and women in antiquity who have been sort of undefined in their Blackness.
Mhm.
Like, I will do the poem on Cleopatra, working on one on the Queen of Sheba, and the things that we find out, this negative connotation about who the Queen of Sheba is, but to know that she was a ruler and a leader, and to have had a love affair with the King Solomon, so royalty is
Mhm.
meeting royalty and all those things. So I like to be able to play around with that, and so
Pastor
hope
D just preached on that.
really?
Imma sing you the, well, it might be on YouTube by that time, but Imma sing you the our live stream. Yes, yeah, Sunday.
That's how I know when something comes up. Like, I have one on Medusa because it'll start recurring. Like
The Medusa one was really good.
yeah, so the theme so I'm trying to see if I'm going to do a full if I do isolated collections or just collect all of the stuff. and do one big collection with but I think and I like historical poems. I like retelling the story and da da da. So I've been working on that a little bit. They've been coming. And then once I get like tunnel vision, like I need to finish the Shiva poem, then that's all I can do when I got other stuff I need to be doing. But I gotta do that one. So it's in the forefront or the presence of mind, as my father would say. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And
Mm,
then teaching the children.
teaching the children. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I won't say what I was about to say, but
Okay.
well, let's get into a little sponsorship before we hop into pop culture.
Okay.
Let's be real. Most first year programs aren't keeping up with the real needs of today's students. That's why I wrote Go Riser Secrets to College Success. It's a down to earth, research based guide that helps students navigate college, not just survive it. If you're an educator looking for something practical to use in orientation seminars or retention programs, this book can anchor your efforts. And hey, if you got a new high school grad in your life or about to graduate in the next year, grab them a copy too. It's one of the best tools you can put in their hands right now. And you can order book bulk or book a training for your students, faculty, or staff. Visit holisticheducations.com or hit the link in the show notes. It's great when you can sponsor your own.
I love it. But I will say
But I
this.
do need to put it out. That is what I've also been doing during the break
Yeah.
of taking of making like, looking back on all the things I've created
Mhm.
and putting them back out with a new mindset, new confidence, and
Mhm.
a new way of saying, "Hey, I have a solution." It's a good
Right.
one, and I'm proud of it. So, yeah, relaunched my book
Okay.
and, doing a whole lot more of, like, companion. Can you believe I was about to create a whole thing, and I found in my Google Drive
Mhm.
a project I did for a university where I had already done this
Wow.
whole
Wow.
curriculum. I'm like, "Erin, are you insane?"
But, when you're so busy on the grind and in the hustle, which is why I'm so glad you took the time off, is that you forget everything that you've done. So I don't do a lot of pictures, I don't do a lot of Facebook, I don't do a lot of those things, and I was up for an award. I had to do a scrapbook, so they could tell you what kind of it was a humanitarian award, and I had to submit a scrapbook that was gonna be voted on. I didn't win. Shit, I felt some type of way, but it was good. It was cool. So the young lady who was working on it said, "I knew you had done more than what you put in here." And I said to her, I said, "Honey, I stick, I serve, I swerve. I gotta move on to the next thing because that's what life is, right? I don't have time to be, doing the photo ops. I don't have time to do it to let not necessarily trying to hide it, but I'm so busy. If I don't have somebody charting that, I don't have time for that. Um, and sometimes, life gets in the way, but sometimes we forget how fantabulous we are, darling.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't get that until you have to slow down or, and you don't want somebody looking back at the end of days to say, "Man, she did a lot. We never knew." So it's a fine line. So I'm glad you've done it. You've got a curriculum out there. You got all the
Add
things,
some
girl.
twist to
Call
it.
my girl. Call my girl.
Yeah.
Bring her to your campus.
So let's get to this pop culture segment. Man, it's a lot of
Lord.
stuff we didn't report on. I feel like God didn't want us to report on it.
Couldn't have. He couldn't have. He couldn't have.
A lot of stuff that we coulda reported on. I'm trying to figure out what we missed, and we talked about, like, on the phone. One day we gonna have, like, a we could literally record our phone conversations, but that will have to be behind a paywall. A paywall, y'all got a confidentiality agreement.
An act yeah, yeah. I could do with OnlyFans. Okay, go ahead.
How about Patreon, not OnlyFans? Let's change that conversation.
This is true. This is why I'm not allowed to speak out loud. Okay, go ahead.
So, I love Cardi B.
I know you do.
Cardi B was in when we talk about that place, yeah, most people know, but
Yeah.
this is where a place where we met. We was in the trenches. We did great work, but it was literally hell on earth. And I remember, I can't even think Bloody Shoes. I know the lyrics, but can't even
Yeah,
think of the
right.
when she first came
Okay,
out,
tell
it
me.
was we I think even the 2 years that was going home to look at Love and Hip Hop. So
Right.
that was when we worked there, she was at her height and loving hip hop. It was still
Mhm.
good. They still had New York. And I just remember her coming out after I remember the moment. It was after BET Award and her
Mhm.
video dropped.
Yeah.
And at the time, my team was still learning me a little bit, but at this time, I think they had figured it out.
Mhm.
That they didn't know if something was wrong or right because either I would be playing Never Woulda Made It and had my gospel playlist, or I would be blasting Cardi B. And one of my team members who was, he clutched his pearls. For all my team that listen, y'all know who I'm talking about. Clutched his pearls and was like, "Dr. Wheeler," like he was bopping, but then he didn't know what to do because I'm like, "Yes, you need something?"
Right. Right.
And bloody
Oh,
blood all you heard was bloody shoes. That was the point where I didn't care. I did not care. So if they either heard gospel or Cardi, they really didn't know what type of day I was having. It could have been
right.
either or. Could have been both.
Right.
But
Right.
Cardi is my girl. One, she is, studying self, like, growth and self-awareness
Mhm.
and success. She is a case study, the youngest
Mhm.
case study, because she is still authentic and she never pretended about who she was. And so nobody could have anything on her. You can't throw anything on me because I put out all my business before,
Right.
right? You don't have nothing on me. You knew I was a stripper. I've been a stripper. She let us in a whole lot to know who she was, so nobody couldn't really talk about her, and I love that.
Mhm.
And so this week was Cardi B's week. I been knew my girl was pregnant, like, come
You
on,
did. You called it before,
come on, girl.
called it. You called it. I tell y'all, I mean,
Hey,
for
see,
real.
no, if the Pelhams come out,
When the
any
Pelhams come out, the pregnancy announcement is imminent. When the Pelhams come out, baby, it's imminent.
so she announced her pregnancy album and also Fresh Beefs. So I really have been like when I say I love her, like I love her and I actually love her music. I
Mhm.
don't
I
really
can listen
do
to that to the new album.
yeah, I don't really do too many, especially I mean, I'll listen, I'll taste it, I'll do it for the culture, but, I don't really do a whole lot of female rappers, or I don't know, why, but Glorilla is the newest one. I love her album. But Cardi always does good music. Meg, I like her, but can't go through a whole album a whole lot. Um,
Mhm.
but I like it. She's having a week.
Well, then you got the pregnancy announcement. Unfortunately, you got, then there's a paternity request for the
Yeah.
new baby daddy. She's still going through the divorce from Offset,
Who wants to pay his he wants her to pay his taxes and give her a house. Give him a house, sorry. Slip, but he
which is
wants her to give him a house.
I'm gonna say this because I always speak in movie lines, right? I
Mhm.
love I love that. That's who I am. I'm sorry, y'all gotta just deal with that. In the words of Cedric the Entertainer oh god, the John Travolta movie. It wasn't Get Shorty, it was the other one. It was whatever.
Sword?
No, the sequel, John Travolta, The Rock, Cedric the Entertainer as a hip hop mogul who was also a private school educated young, father. But Andre 3000 is in it, and he's drinking tea, and he's got his pinky finger up, and he's kinda slurping. Cedric Entertainer says, "Dabu, that's not gangster." Offset, that's not gangster. Like, you can't ask your woman who is the primary caregiver for your children, as a man and as someone who has the ability to make your own money. Now, the fact that you let Chris Brown body you on what, like, okay, fine, whatever. But I mean,
You're
do you
one of the
really want your
stupidest
son?
beefs ever.
Right,
Side note,
okay.
I forgot about that for a reason.
I will never forget that. I will never forget that. And so, for you to be able to make your own money, but is that you're mad with her for not staying to continuously be disrespected. So, you're gonna punish her by requesting because she's making more money, she's hustling more. But it's not that you couldn't have made the same amount of money, you make your own money, and if you don't have enough money to buy yourself a house, then that's a problem because you
He
have the
got a
ability.
house.
You're trying to punish her for choosing herself. And that's what you're showing your son, and that's what you're showing your daughters, and all the rest of them cheering that that she has embraced and loved on because she loved you. And
Mhm.
you didn't know what that meant until you couldn't do it anymore. And now you're angry. You're mad at yourself. Those kinds of questions, and you are mad with yourself. You fumbled. As I told the old man one day, man, you had a wife, and sometimes you gotta know what that means. And I will say this, and even when we were in the sunken place, and I was like, "Oh, to get it that all that oh, just to get some of that." Like, it was but I have come to truly respect her transparency
Mhm.
because Cardi B is she's an interesting conundrum in that way, but in her leadership of her life in the leadership of her life, she is transparent, she's honest to a fault.
Mhm.
And just say, just like she responded to she said, "I see both our baby daddy now." So, like, it's the transparency, the decision, I gave you enough chances so that now when I walk away, I feel now that I have released you to your destiny, I can do so knowing I did everything I could. And so it sort of mirrors kinda like how I feel about when I have to do that. Like, right, you try to give people enough chances. My old pastor said, "The name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost." She did it. She did it 3 times. She got 3 children from him. She did it 3 times. Name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And then she had to save herself. You clearly could she gave you 3 times to do
Yeah.
everything. So, I mean, she in the leadership of her life. Now, I believe in closing one door before you open up another one, but she didn't do that, but she transparent about that too. And,
But also she did close the door, but he won't close his side.
right. Well, then you got to move on, baby. Take
And
that to
she said
Tijuana and get
she been single for longer than what we all knew.
right. I mean, it's sort of like Tiana and Iman in that divorce. They had been separate. They had been over for a year before she even came out
Mhm.
with
She
with
didn't come
somebody.
out, he said something petty.
Well, I mean, and you still okay. So and I love you on a country Wayne skit, Iman, mighty name. I can admire that. I mean, I'm loving this for her in this time. I do think you gonna have this baby, and you're gonna go on tour. Beyonce done told y'all that ain't a good look. She'll never do that again. She almost killed you gon' don't do it. Don't do it. Give yourself grace and rest and take care of your baby and your body. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily I want you to stay home. I don't want you to drop that baby on Wednesday and try to have a Saturday night show.
yeah,
I want
and
you to
I
get
don't
yourself some rest.
I mean, just 'cause it's your 4th, I don't want her to have complications and stuff like
Right.
that, but she's trying, she feels she said she got something to prove to herself, not necessarily everybody else, but the fans who supported her, she don't wanna keep them waiting.
Let me tell you, and I don't mean to cut you off, but the
Mm-mm.
only thing Cardi B has to do now is to take care of herself. People gon' they're gonna stream. Rihanna just got it this morning. Rihanna had her baby girl. We're never getting another album from Rihanna, and you know what?
Yeah,
Rihanna didn't do it. Cardi,
we
just
already
throw up a perfume and let it go. Just throw up a perfume right now if you need 6 months.
yeah.
Just throw up a perfume. We'll be here. The people will be here.
Yeah. She also killed Rihanna was also, I think, either in my no, it wasn't graduate. It's one of my speeches that I give at graduation about success. But I remember her flying through 7 albums. And that was why my friends love Rihanna. But I'm like her, I respect
Mhm.
her, but I really wanted her to take time to put out quality music because
Mhm.
she did speed through 7 albums, 7 years, 7 tours. Rihanna done gave us everything she got, plus, I mean, the random 2 songs we got in the last 10 years that was not
Right.
an album, but we still sang because that's all we got.
It's how you right. But and here's the thing, baby, Fenty moisturizer is the true Fenty tinted moisturizer. I'm all I'm waiting on is Fenty Skin to hit Ulta. I'm telling you, best, some of the best work ever.
She's a
Um,
millionaire from she's a billionaire
billionaire,
billionaire.
billionaire. But but back to Cardi, I just really the album sounds really good. Open, honest. I mean, it's a you can tell. I mean, she
Mhm.
has but even the question, "Am I the drama?"
She wrote this out a lot of the songs came from everything. You can tell when she wrote it when she was going off, dealing with Offset. You can tell the song she wrote when she got with Stefan Diggs.
Mhm.
You can just tell different stuff. You can tell that she's grown. Even in her interview, she's still Cardi. I just wanted her to have a little bit more media training, but she didn't really need that.
I think part of the fact is that she doesn't have the media training.
Mhm. She got that. She know when to I
She might
mean, she was in all these interviews, she was the same different person. She was the same
right,
way with
right.
Gayle, with Kelly Rowland, with The Breakfast Club,
Mhm,
with I'm in the middle of watching, Angie Martinez. I started it this morning, her
mhm.
interview with Angie Martinez, which I think is gonna be really, really good because everybody all of the she knows who to go with, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I love it all. That's actually one bright spot in my week is her. Although one of my other podcasts that I love, I had Crystal went off on her and I couldn't even you gotta listen t well, I couldn't even finish
I
it. I'm probably
I
gonna
heard
fast forward.
some of it. I heard some of it.
But if you listen to the read, Crystal has gone off about other people like that. I just think it was a sweet spot. I did think she went overboard because I'm like, I mean, it ain't my uterus that Stefan Diggs impregnated. I don't care. She said she fine. She doing her work. She doing it. She got 4 kids. But the conversation really came after them talking about Nick Cannon and his most obvious the most obvious, thing that he got narcissistic personality disorder, right? And
I just
so
wanna hold his hand and say,
we knew that.
"We knew this. We knew this. We just
You
waiting on you. We
you
just waiting
shoulda
on you."
gave us you shoulda gave us a little money.
I'd have taken that 150 an hour, baby.
What, you think he paying 150 for a therapist? Come on now.
Well, I mean, he need to have his therapist move into the house.
So that conversation was coupled with and Crystal
Mm.
is a counselor, a therapist.
Well, now that gives me pause.
No, no, no. So in her background world, she always say, "I don't give counseling advice," but knowing that she's a therapist, she talked about Nick Cannon right before her Cardi after he says, "I realized all of these babies came from my trauma and toxicity." But then he ended that conversation and she ended that segment with, but he say that it don't matter because he got money to have these kids, which she segmented into Cardi having her 4th, and I think she might have said, "I got money to have these kids," which led to the rant about kids need more than money. They need present parents. And it just went on after that. So I can see because I wasn't prepared for that.
Mm,
I heard the intro. I haven't finished it because I was like, "Oh, this is a little bit too much for me today." But then I turn on IG and I see, oh, dang, she went in. Crystal went on Cardi B. Cardi B responded. Not like she would respond to anybody else, but I think Cardi B listens to the read. Why else would you
mm.
know who Crystal was and would respond on IG because of it? But yeah, I mean, I mean, that's all her choices. I can't be mad. I mean, I'm not
I
gonna
I
give
think
them
I
the
took issue
energy
with
to that.
calling her a broke bronze. It was something that I think I take issue with that. I think, I just first of all, let's not do the Bronx like that, and 2,
Yeah, she really did go in
I
on
mean, it
it
was
was
almost like it was a
personal.
trigger and personal. Um, the one thing about it is I would not be speaking on I think it was bad timing as well, simply because here's this woman who is clearly pregnant and 4th baby or not, but that in that amount of time that she's had these children, I would be more concerned about her well-being and making sure that she's okay. I would have focused on the fact that she seems unfortunately, we have to deal with the fact that somebody else says they got a 5-month-old when you supposed to been with this man for a year, and so have you picked the same one, sis? Though I get that Stefon Diggs was his favorite player, so your get Cardi B's Get Back
W
is
That
beautiful.
get back
It
blows
is
my
my God. I
he
mean,
cried in the car
aspire to the
single day
level
behind that.
I aspire to the level of petty that she has exacted, and I say that in all fairness, and I say that with all seriousness because I realize that my petty is not petty enough, and so I just think that sometimes I would be much more cautious if I have that much visibility to speak on a pregnant woman who, let's just be very clear, that is a health and medical condition that I wouldn't want to add to that because with the hormones and imbalances and all of those things, what if she's feeling some type of way? What if her response, or that's our, both our baby daddy now, is a defense mechanism because maybe I've gotten myself back into the same thing and I expected more. Once you tell me she's a therapist, I expect more in terms of her countenance in dealing with reporting the pop culture news because at the end of the day as we talk about these people as we dissect what we think and what we see, these are real people.
Yeah.
And I think we tend to forget that. They don't owe us their lives.
Yeah.
She could have held this album and that baby could have been 5 years old before we ever saw it.
Yeah.
And so I think that she is misguided in a way to think that she can have that. I just would have taken much more caution. And she has to address why she is so triggered by the fact that Cardi B is having her 4th baby.
Yeah. And also I think that we forget that people in, in the news and have celebrity are just humans, and we are
Mhm.
friends and family with someone who has 4 kids, somebody who has a child who's 1 and 1 on the way, who had baby. And I understand exactly what happened with Cardi.
Mhm.
She was hurt.
Mhm.
She is
Mhm.
a lover. She's
Mhm.
always been loyal to the to them. Even when she was on Love and Hip Hop, she loved to a fault. She wasn't
Yep.
stupid, but she loved to a fault, and she said it. I think that was I don't know if that was a Gayle King interview, but she was like, "People's telling me go outside, have a little fun, don't take it so seriously." And she was like, "I had a little bit too much fun. What you want me to do?"
Hey, she
See,
needs to have
we
some.
all know people that has we
Okay.
all know.
I
We
wish
know
y'all
exactly how it happened. By the grace of God, it didn't happen to you, but it could have. It could have.
I just, and it's also very much Libra season. So she that's part of who she is. Celestially, that's who she is. And she's tried. She's been very graceful. She's given grace. She's charming. She's likable. She's approachable. She's passionate because October is just the month of passion. So October and September Libras are different. But I just she's trying.
Yeah.
She's not and what how old?
She's not even 30.
She's not even 30. Like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. She's not even 30. She's
No.
gonna be fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
The other thing is that I like is that she left the beef on the record, and I like that. She compared it to, well, a wet belt when you least expect it. That's what she Bia had said something about her kid a long time ago. She said, "I was depressed and I couldn't get to you, but when I do."
But when I do
And Charlamagne was like, "A wet belt?" She was like, "Your mama hit you whether you was in the shower or something with a wet belt."
baby, pull out the baby oil on them on the floor now, on the floor. Let them get out the shower and whoop their ass. But, that's alright.
Yeah, so, I love that part. She
Mhm.
saved it. Yeah. So from baby news and album releases and divorce all in one week, we go to Jimmy Kimmel, Free Speech.
Mm.
When I say this one tested my gangster, I
Oh.
couldn't press the cancel on my Hulu and Disney Plus. I'm
Oh,
gonna admit it. I'm gonna admit it, and I didn't feel it was a thought, but I was talking to somebody else who has a very great moral compass and is close, very close to God and Jesus, who's said, "Now they ain't getting this out of me. I
wow.
just found this stuff. I
It
could
was
not do it. I
yeah,
could not do it."
listen, I have curtailed, I'm a member of the Target boycott, and I do break the picket line, basically, the metaphoric picket line. But I'm in the midst of rewatching Scandal and, just
That's actually all I watch. I'm not a Netflix girl. I do Amazon Prime because my favorite sci-fi show is over there. But I'm a Marvel, Star
yeah,
Wars.
yeah. But I'm glad they brought him back, though. They couldn't listen, they lost money within them 6 days, and they said, "Okay." Maybe we went too far.
I did check my email for a rate increase. I ain't got it yet, y'all, but I've been loyal since Hulu was just Hulu and
It's
nobody knew
Hulu.
about it. I was a original card cutter back in 2013. I've been with y'all for a long time. I saw
Yeah.
through. So I expect my loyalty. But no, for those of y'all who have been um, I don't wanna say under a rock, you just could be protecting your mental health. Jimmy Kimmel was briefly suspended after the September 15th monologue tying the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk to MAGA politics. To be clear, he said nothing about Charlie Kirk. Then came roaring back this week with the biggest ratings in a decade. Investors are pressing ABC for answers. Critics call him dishonest, and the free speech versus outrage machine is back on 10. I feel it's on 20.
It is. I mean, people across the country lost their jobs for their social media posts, cancel whatever it is, but it was as if you could not say his name or discuss him, and many of the people of the beautiful melanated people didn't even know who the boy was because he was not in our
Wow.
purview, right?
I had an inkling of who he was, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's"
But, I mean, it was just one of many, like, for me,
yeah.
like, well, just one of many, espousing those kinds of things, and if you said anything about what he said about gun violence, gun control, any of his own remarks used against this is what I'm sorry, consequences come whatever it is, that people were being fired, suspended, Jimmy Kimmel got it because also, of course, he is clearly a liberal Democrat, and so he's always been a target and it's
Oh,
back and
all of
forth.
the late night shows are a
Yeah,
target.
all of them. And it's just, it was just very unfortunate because if you know Jimmy Kimmel, you also know that his history in having to, his son having cancer and having to go through that. He's a very emotional and empathetic person. I mean, even on
Mhm.
late night, that this is not the first time I saw the show. I had to watch it, right? And it's like that anyone would think that I would celebrate someone's death. It was a very powerful moment, but it's not the first time. He feels deeply about humanity.
All the Late Show. I love Late Show. All of them from David Letterman. I mean,
Mhm.
there's only been a few Late Show hosts because they hold that spot, but
Right.
I grew up during a David Letterman. I don't know who came
Mhm.
immediately before him, but the David Lettermans and, follow him, Nicole Bear, and happy when Kimmel came and took, it's
I'm
hard.
old enough to remember Johnny Carson, so that should give
Okay,
you
I'm not the Johnny Carson era. I'm the who's it?
yeah,
Look, who NBC. I'm doing some on camera that I can't
right. So, and I think
but I
part of
feel
that
like
is that
all of them are. I feel like
right.
all of them as a
Yeah.
late night comedy, and it is American culture to have late night to be political, but in
Mhm.
that nuance, you have to have empathy to be
Mhm.
able to take the human side and bring together people no matter what you how you
Right, and also you have to understand that comics before they make it, that's a hard
Yeah,
road.
yeah.
That's sleeping on couches, that's sleeping in back rooms and all of that, and the struggle and the community of brotherhood that develops and people who come from various, backgrounds, that the journey in comedy is not just about the laughs. It's a very hard road, and so you meet a lot of people, you develop empathy and humanity and compassion, and somebody gives you a leg up, gives you an opportunity, and you maximize it. It's really it's hell, it's supposed to be the American way,
It's supposed
right?
to be.
It's a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a community, but we've gotta stop, and we've said this on the podcast before, we've gotta stop as a culture, and particularly in our business of higher ed, having these knee-jerk reactions to
Oh, that
things
is higher
without
ed. It's a classic higher ed move.
right, this is a classic high you've gotta stop having knee-jerk reactions without finding out everything, and then making public statements before you find out everything, and really making an assessment. You
There
don't
was
have
no let me there was no assessment.
mm-mm,
They were looking for the first thing they could do that could be a hair rational.
mhm,
The president had been wanting to get rid of all the late show hosts because his ego can't take
right,
them making fun of him.
right.
like they done with every other, even Barack,
Mhm.
they made jokes about. Like, everybody that's the reason why, one, we both love Stewie Griffin and
Oh,
South
yes.
Park because they spray
Everybody.
it is equal opportunity
Uh-huh.
comedy.
Right. It's in the words of Stewie Griffin, ABC and Disney, I want you to understand. Now what did we learn? What did we learn? Because they were not prepared. This is a free speech issue. He could have gotten up there and said whatever he wanted to say. This is a free speech issue, and when the backlash from, Hollywood, the
Mhm,
backlash from politics, and sometimes on both sides of the aisle,
mhm.
you can't do that, and so now it's gonna be you know, an investigation or at least a conversation, a harsh conversation about how did you make that decision? Of all the things Jimmy Kimmel has said over the last 20 some years, what was so you and how are we allowing the government I mean, we're going to not from a democratic society to an autocratic society. We have to be mindful about using our power in any form that you have power against people for having an opinion that's different. I mean, where are we going? As my great aunt would say, "Where am I going? Crazy?"
I'm
That
trying to find the quote the FCC chair said about free speech a few years ago is very opposite than what he did.
and so and when we're making those types of decisions that have political consequences, we I would say to people, you can nothing is more important than the institution. In terms of no one person, you've gotta create a community. You've gotta be able to understand that. I want everyone to be well, but I also want everyone to understand I'm not gonna make a professional decision based on my personal feeling. I may not like you, but I respect the work that you do, and I only can judge you professionally about the professional work, if that makes sense. So I can't I'm not gonna fire somebody or release somebody to their destiny because I don't we disagreed on one point or because I don't like you as a human being. Not that you're not a bad we just may not gel. We just may not do I can't make a personal decision based that has professional consequences. And Trump is making I'm sorry, the occupant of 1600 is making he's forcing people to make these sort of professional decisions because he can't take the joke.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's good, the James Call Me, that may make it to one of our episodes because that's the start of some craziness.
Afraid of the midterms. The midterms are coming up, and they're afraid, and they should be. They should be. You have emboldened people enough I don't know what the lady's name was, but she told her constituents, "Well, you're gonna die. Everybody gotta die." "Oh, okay." So she decided not to even run again. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. But you stood in a room full of people and told them, "Well, you gotta die sometime. This is where
Do
we are."
they know? Don't you know we see you?
Right? Cat. Cat was, "Don't you know that I can see you?"
Don't y'all know that this is gonna be recorded and used for later playback? Just like every free speech Trump has said and the FCC chair has said is now being played out.
But
Don't y'all
that's
know?
the issue. But that's the thing. That's the thing. They were fighting against the playback because his words were very, very clear. Now, I'm not making it up when he says, you gotta have a few gun deaths a year to protect the Second Amendment. Okay. He said I didn't say that. I didn't ask him to say that. I didn't nobody dropped him on a college campus His background is very clear. He didn't finish community college.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
And he wanted to bait these college kids. It's like we're living in an episode of Scandal. I'm just telling you. Okay. Imma
I wish
leave it
we
there, but
were.
I think Shonda Rhimes needs to investigate this.
Hey, where is the real Olivia Pope? Oh, we need him because that was based on a real person.
Well, she needs to come and fix it for the Democrats, so don't work for the other side anymore.
In the world of, verifiable lies, my god. Last week was a week. This has been running into each other. I don't even know. I think all of this happened within a week because yeah,
Yeah, it did, it did, it did. So, ladies and gentlemen, she's talking about the great Dame Dash on The Breakfast Club. That's her favorite podcast and show, so Imma let her just kinda get herself together. So, Dame Dash returned to the Breakfast Club, pressed back on the broke talk, teased a paid in full series, and
I meant to correct that in the script, Dr.
no, it just
Jackson.
I'm
He
sorry.
teased the my paid in full.
My pay
He said ball paid in full.
my pay and spoke on a new role at Revolt. Plus, of course, the usual Dame level smoke for Charlemagne.
Yeah, this is the longest interview. I think I took 3 days to finish this interview because as soon as I started in on the first 10 minutes, my Instagram kept going off on click already from the interview to and I break I had that was one of my early mornings, and I had got it as soon as it was fresh out. I couldn't I mean, my God.
I've watched Dame on Growing Up Hip Hop and his interactions with his son.
I see I hate that he is on that stuff, but with a daddy like that,
Yeah,
I see.
I see why. And sometimes we rewatch it. I don't know why. I don't know. My house is weird. We rewatch it, and I was going back. This is before the interview. This has been a couple of months. This has been about a month or so before the interview. And I went, Dame is he's so consumed with being respected, even from his son. You know, you come out here talking to me, da da da, da and you being disrespectful. And the son is like, I,
I just asked
I'm
a question.
I just asked a question. And so just this idea that I don't know, like, you made a misstep. I remember the documentary when they were all on tour, Meth and Red, Jay-Z, Bleak,
Mhm.
all of them. It was a great documentary. And so Def Jam had given everybody jackets, and they were all excited about the jackets, and he was like, "Ugh." He was feeling some type of way about that. But he said, "Yeah, they called me an asshole because da 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 da." He said, "But my crew tells me I'm right." And so, but he's making the moves. You can't always believe the hype, sir. And he's still living in that moment, and he can't pull
He
himself out.
can't grow out. When I say he is stuck in the 2000s.
Mhm.
Was it even the 2000s? It was the 2000s.
It was
90,
like
95.
98, 90. It was late.
Yeah,
It was really, really late, because Meth and Red were out, and they're doing their duo album, but he can't pull himself out of that.
it's so sad to see.
And then who was it? Oh my god. It was another older rapper. I wanna say it was MC Shan. And listen, when I say I'm going back,
You are going back.
half of y'all don't even remember MC Shan. Um,
Anytime
it
you
was
use
like
the
if I
word prefix MC,
MC, right? I wanna say it was MC Shan, and he was like, "If I see you one more time, go get you some denture cream. Go get you don't you if I see those teeth, slide one more time." But I think also that's part of the other issue, not the dental work, but the fact that you have to deal with the fact that you're getting older, that you don't have the clout, and so there's sort of this cycle, um this cycle of, I want give me the new this, give me that guy, oh, you're the man, and so now you're not on that side, so he's on the downside of that, and he has not maximized. He has some personal losses that he has not dealt with, and he's angry. I mean, if you're fussing at your kid about being disrespectful on camera, because that's what you're really worried about
mhm.
on camera, and so even now, you going in there lying, telling verifiable lies.
When I say hot off like, "Lauren, this is coming from Revolt, and we want you to urge this. We want you to put urgency and weight on this, that we wanted you to know this clearly. Please make this clear. He has not nor ever been the chairman, nor in the you can't buy Revolt. Revolt is owned by the employees." That's a verifiable lie.
Would even make that deal. And why would you put that out there?
You wanna know why? You
Why?
wanna know you didn't hear the reason why? Let's go back to Cameron, who has been able to evolve and grow into
And who saw that shit coming? Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah,
She gonna have to edit me out.
no, we gonna keep it. So, the whole son he always gotta keep people his son. So, the fact that, yes, you helped Cameron in his early days, but Cameron has now come into his own success,
Mhm.
you can't handle that. So Cameron was like, "Oh, alright." Bet I don't know if he used the word but, bro, whatever, kinda same level. I got some, I do produce things for Revolt, and I have, slots. You know how they do the
Mhm,
first thing. I have some slots that I haven't filled. Like, I can put you on that I can put your shows in my slots and put it on Revolt. Cameron said the conversation went great. "Oh, yeah, 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 that's love. Thank you, thank you, thank you." He must have slept on it and said the other side of Dane, which he probably I'm not a even in the field to diagnose, but he could be diagnosed with something,
mhm.
up and said, "Oh, hell no. You my son. I created you. You can't help. You not helping me. I'm supposed to be." So in his attempt to shun Cameron, I'm going to say that I am your boss by saying am the chairman of Revolt. And so this was a gift, and Charlamagne said it. He was like, "Everybody gonna eat off this interview," and everybody ate. Next thing I know, Roland Martin, he can say anything because he owns his own network. He's always been about integrity, especially with Black journalism. He was
Mm,
like, he called out Black enterprise before. Vibe ran the story that Dame Dash was going to be announced as the new chairman of Revolt. At the end of the article, people don't read, says these have not been verified, or this it read like Dame sent us a press release. I wish we did have video so you can see Candice has her editor. Yeah, I can see this is scrambling her brain like it scrambled us. It was read like a press release that Dame sent from his family office. Like, I'm so tired of hearing that this week. It really literally was a press release. You can send anything to any news. I can send it right now that doctor that allegedly hired has been picked up by the Black Effect podcast. I can create a press release and send that on a newswire, and somebody can pick it up and say the same thing that I put in the press release and run it. Now, if you're a
right,
good journalist, you will call me and you would call the Black Effect podcast and verify that this is true. Vibe didn't do that. So Vibe, we don't know who running Vibe these days, right?
right,
Post it. And so because Vibe is pretty much synonymous with Dame and hip hop and that whole, era, published it and it got picked up. But when the Revolt real chairman said the employees lit his email box up. Is this true? What is going on? What is happening? So he had to put out a release of a very leadership type thing and say, "Hey, we hear and see what you say. It is not true. We will send out a press release to verify. Y'all don't have nothing to worry about." Revolt, after Diddy's exit, is employee owned. There is no entry or path. He was like, "Oh, it's gonna be a path for me to buy." There is none. We got rid of Diddy. You think we want you?
oh my god, my god,
Diddy would have been better,
my lord.
and that's saying a lot.
Yeah, it's saying a lot, but, and this is where now, bless her heart, I don't know how she dealing with that,
Who?
his wife.
Rocky?
Yeah, I don't know how she dealing with that, I don't know what she's thinking,
She gotta be a little bit off. I'm sorry. I don't like
because at this point, like,
this
I'm seeing a very much a
Kanye West,
God, it's just
Bianca.
ridiculous. And what I think is harder is seeing the decline, the mental decline, the cognitive decline of an icon who made some missteps, but who is now too ego driven to say to the people who really do care about him. I'm sure he still has people, but they cannot continue.
I actually would put him on the very same level, maybe 2 steps up from Kanye.
Yeah, but I think after this interview, I think even so we have no Kanye, most people can say Kanye lost his mama, and that's when the schizophrenia and the bipolar disorder really came out because there was no one to help him corral.
Mhm.
Dame is gonna have to get diagnosed. And
That's homosexual. A man don't have mental issues. That whole I'm like, "You really are stuck in this '90s because after everything you say that's normal, you put pause." And when I hear that too many times, I start to question things.
right. And hey, like but he's not behaving like a man with sense. Common about he gonna buy some. But I'm gonna take a different, which is kind of what I like to do now, you know me. I gotta find out who hurt you. Well, he hurt himself.
No, that was a
Uh,
lot of I think it was just that it's a lot of factors, like, we do have to give him
but then
credit.
I and that's what I'm saying. I'm the only the grace yeah, the grace I can extend, Aaron, is you had to watch your artist
Mhm.
ascend in places you can he running the NFL entertainment division, and you don't even have a ticket to the game. You're not even tailgating in the parking lot, and that has to be psychologically damaging because you didn't who knew, right? Who knew? But that has to be to see your entire peer group at this age have achieved a certain level of comfort, status, and all of that, and you, sir, don't have that.
But
You can't pay you've been jailed for child support, you done had to pay you don't have it.
all of that's false according to him. It's a illusion.
If you had to go to court for your child support, then you went to court for your child support. They gonna put you in jail if you hadn't paid it. But I watched the show.
I think
You
he
went to
did.
court.
He got arrested.
You got okay, you went to court, sir, which means you weren't paying on time. So, again, your man 100 grand is round there a billionaire, and he running something like NFL, and you can't even get a pass to get in the parking lot to tailgate. You don't even have a ticket to the game.
But I feel like if Dame was fully above board and reliable and moral and ethical, would have
And
Jay-Z has
he
rolled with the
touched
same circle
mhm.
since back then. He might have picked up a few new businessmen, a few new but the people in his circle he'd been riding with since the end of Rockefeller and the beginning of Rock Nation.
And that's the thing. That's what Dame can't get past.
No, but it's your
Life
fault.
has moved on without him, and he's having a very, very, very hard time with it. It's sad.
It's very sad. The only other thing he trying to be so smart and trying to prove game and talk game and all of this about business you need to own. I don't work for nobody. The whole interview was just and Charlemagne has evolved because old Charlemagne, 'cause I could see it was a little glimmer in his eye. I was like, if I swing on him, yeah, 'cause he in my face. But
Yeah.
he was like, he even said it. He was like, I bring the energy that you bring in. You started with this and me. In the
But at
first
some point
minutes, you called me all kinds of gay slurs and girls.
yeah.
In the first 10 minutes, what you want? What did you think this interview was gonna be?
But at the end of the day, I think even Charlemagne and Envy, all of them, you can see a broken man who is fighting for recognition of what he did accomplish, but losing the fight.
Mhm.
And that's what he looks like. It's sad, and it's disheartening, and it's a cautionary tale. Do right by people along the way on the way up, so that if there is so that your road on the way down is not as arduous as it has to as this is, because what you're seeing is somebody in deep decline, and
Yeah.
it's a mental health issue as well as a cognitive decline, it looks like, and get that dendrocrin.
He said which and see, the intellect in me can pick apart things, which drives me crazy, that's why I couldn't. I'm like so he said, his implants fell out.
They if they implants, my God, they're
Now
implanted.
you could have for my limited, expanded limited and expanded knowledge of medical side, you could have bone, degeneration and a little bit of
They will not put implants if the bone is gone. Say they are dentures and you up
no, no,
like
no. I do think he had implants, but I do think somebody probably bust him in his mouth or he fell on his face. I do think either one of those happened, or he has a medical condition which loosened the bone. I'm giving him benefit of the doubt. It's very small, but I do think somebody bust him in his mouth or he fell on his face.
well,
That's probably with that mouth he has is probably a little bit more
you
but that's when you say your implants fell out, yeah, they fell out under some very intense pressure.
so here's the thing.
But he said he getting them back. He got a different type of implant.
These were videos, which means they had to have been uploaded. Nobody needed to see it. And if
He said that's how real he was. That's how real parent he was, cause he didn't care about the TV. He got millions of dollars. He can,
oh,
the
okay.
brat. Anyway,
Alright. I'm done. I'm done with Dame Dash. Bless his
yeah,
heart. You're not an art and here's the other thing, not an artist, sir. You're not an artist.
we
You got okay.
do
Alright.
we talk about his artist that he brought on the show?
No, do not.
No. Alright, moving. Host choice. Do you wanna talk about do we have the bandwidth capacity to talk about, the new Southern accreditors versus Saks? Or do we wanna go for Charlie Kirk to the TSU foolishness that happened in the last 24
I
hours?
think we can do both. They're organically linked.
All 3 stores.
They're all linked. The TSU going Tennessee State University and having what's the name of this group?
Turning Point. They're not Turning Point.
No, there was a different one.
Yeah, I think that's a group they made up.
Right, so that to not approve, to do some protesting, they're wearing, MAGA hats and
Well,
all of
let's start at the top because this is
okay,
really new. Like, I feel I just read something this morning about some other details. So,
okay,
we're gonna go start in the last 24 hours and go back, right?
okay,
So,
alright,
there was an incident at TSU, Tennessee State University, on yesterday. We're recording this on September 26th. So, September 25th, a group calling itself the Fearless Debates. White men wearing MAGA hats and carrying around handwritten, poorly written DEI posters that said DEI should be illegal. It really the handwriting was horrible. Like, if y'all gonna do this professionally, go get that. Go get it. Deport all illegals now. Coulda had it printed at Walgreens. Like, it's not that hard. It's not science or future. Set up an unsanctioned debate table. When I say they ain't have no tablecloth or nothing. It's just white posters with DI is illegal and deport all illegals. Now, they set it up in TSU's quad, then were escorted out by the police. This is very much summarized. The students ran them off campus, y'all. Ran them off campus with the
respectfully.
police.
Mhm.
Yes. Shouting facts at them. They were not affiliated or authorized, and they reinforced this is TSU saying this, that protests require prior approval. We know this. Dr. Jackson, where you went, probably not at Tougaloo, when you went to Chapel Hill,
Mhm.
were there people in the student union telling you that you're going to hell?
Every day, every day.
Okay,
But
they
here's
get
the
approval.
and
They
here's the
get
funny
approved.
thing,
They're
they
approved to be there.
yeah, they approved it, they get up and they shouted, "We're going to hell, you're going to hell," they got the Bible, but there was a young man who would walk around and tell people they loved him, and they told him he couldn't be there. But anyway, so it is a true story. They told him, "You can't just go around telling people you love them." So, it's very strange. This after the shooting, I find in Utah, the HBCUs then became this target.
I don't
We
understand
weren't
that.
we weren't there. We weren't
They
there. We weren't
not
there
our
in
own
the
business.
Utah. We weren't
I
nobody
do that. Soon as you say Utah,
not there. Not
that
there.
ain't
We're
not
not
that's
there.
not my business.
Um, that 1%, that's the one of the few places where we the 1%, and the 1% has a totally
One
different
per look, the 1% plus NBA YoungBoy.
right.
He the
Yeah,
only
right.
only person that's there.
So this idea that then you're gonna shift the narrative, you're gonna go to HBCUs because see, if you really want to have debate, why didn't you just go on down the street to Vanderbilt?
Or, what's there's a Tennessee University of Tennessee.
But the main one is in Knoxville. But see what they wanted to. I always say this.
They're not even from Tennessee. These boys traveled on the road. God knows probably
Okay.
what part they's riding in. They not even from Tennessee.
Okay, they just did this for oh my god, I don't know. I just
The Fearless Tour. And the news this morning where I saw them, it might have been last night's news. I was about to sound like them. We didn't know that it was a HBCU. We didn't know that Tennessee State University was a HBCU. You just you just thought a state university is gonna have all in Tennessee, all of these black people there.
but then why would you have get rid of DE?
That's what I'm saying. It's all stupid. We got rid of DI. We here. We that is null and void here. It is very val it is hey, HBCUs are very diverse. Let me diverse, equitable, and inclusive. But that it's a for this sake of this argument of us taking our spots and not being, we don't deserve it and we're not qualified for baby. The point is not mute. We are where we this don't apply to us in this moment right here.
Right.
But y'all didn't know. Y'all just said, "Oh, it's the college campus," and
But you
they
want me to get rid of you clearly.
and now I wish and I did watch Roland Martin this morning to prep. Probably I should not have because I love Roland. I love Roland Martin ever since his CNN days. I really wish, and I know there's gonna be more of this, and if we ever have any we do have students watching, listening,
Mhm.
watching, maybe later. We have
Right.
students listening. I would have loved for them to walk by silently and
Mhm.
pay them no dust. But that's what they want. They want the viral moment of being chased off campus. That's what they were looking for.
And they were escorted off, by following their policies and procedures. I commend the students of Tennessee State University. And I saw some of the of course, I've seen the clips, to have assisted, but it was, as polite and professional, but it is very triggering, and I think that's what they want, and we have to be more mindful to protect our students and our spaces, and I don't mean just I'm not saying our spaces is in terms of Black spaces, but we do, yes, definitely that, but
And
also the spaces of our personage. So, if I were the dean of students, provost, the president. You've gotta handle that. They have to be escorted off campus summarily. There's no such and then we're gonna beef up, make sure that whoever's, entering the campus, whatever the entrances are, because at this time, my primary concern is protect the welfare of my students. So if they got on campus, there's no telling what else they could have done if they had time to do all the setup and they did all that. You know, I think TSU did the best job they could do in the moment to get them out of there as soon as possible to be escorted off. Did they call the police? Or
who?
did they let
Fearless children? The fear that campus police, I think once they saw the uproar of the camp I mean, they're in the quad, I'm pretty sure.
they never should have made it to the quad.
And that was the other piece that Roland brought up in his segment was that most of our campuses are open, except for Southern University. But now, I mean, yeah. Yeah, Southern is when they have it closed, it's closed.
Mhm. We have, my current institution has
Yeah.
gates, but it's
Yeah.
still a very much an open campus, like,
Yeah.
it's still open, and most state institutions are public funding, but all entrances are not open or manned, so the gates are closed. It's not like they can jump the
Which
fence.
I feel like was a definite issue in the Charlie Kirk assassination. Like there's a lot of things we could talk about from this one piece.
Mhm,
Even looking at how the shooter left, how he got on the roof, how
mhm.
he hid a gun off campus, like close off campus in the I wish I could see her face.
Scandal episode. Scandal. Shonda, holla at me, girl. You need the soup. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You answered my question, but part 2 of that is if we were on a campus right now,
Mhm,
what programs would we need to implement? Like, I feel like this is we and we're going to preview our first interview. We did
mhm,
our first interview earlier that you will hear after the segment where we talked about how we need to shift paradigm in education and make it more based in reality and engaging. I feel like from English to math to history to criminal justice to sociology to every class should have a project can eat off of the things today and make it relevant.
mhm.
I even think of how lightly we take library science. I don't even
You
know if
do,
they require students to do that
yeah.
because you at this point in time, now we got to decide if it's AI, if it's where the source came from. Is it a qualified source? Is it like
Well, I think to answer your question, I think we need to go back to in this political climate, honestly, if I were on a campus, once we get the immediacy of that situation under control, I wanna go back to and bring my people to the table. I need to bring my chief of police, my security force. We need to look at the facilities and access to the campus. But the other part of that is preparing students because they gotta go out in the world. And
Mhm.
what brings to mind is how they would prepare students to go into sit-in.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like, what are the things that they need to know? And how do you from a practical standpoint, how do you put this into programming? Is it a SGA student government-led thing? Is it a series of, speakers? Like,
So
how would we go about helping the students deal with this? And then it's a psychological thing too. I definitely think there needs to be therapists, like, it's a scary time. I can imagine it's a scary time for them.
it's a scary time for them because this is also the world they're inheriting.
Mhm,
So you have to approach it on so many levels. Remember when, that young man did a mass shooting in South Carolina? I
mhm.
think
At the
that's what
church. Yeah.
in my church, we have security. We have law enforcement who are also members, the
Mhm.
sheriff officers. And so but we also have a sign that says no firearms, right? Yeah, like the sign's gonna stop them. But okay, go. But one Sunday, he said, "I don't want y'all to worry. We've gone over the plan, and there are people who are situated in this sanctuary who are licensed and approved to carry. So I don't have to feel like I'm in a police state when I go into my
Yeah.
church, but I also feel safe enough to know that the people who are licensed to carry that I may not see, I know that they're there, right? Even though I
Yeah.
know the sheriff is sitting on the pew, I know that security is outside and we have sheriff's offices and sheriffs who are members of the church. But it's not just them, it's also some other people who are on that security team in case something happens. I think
Mhm.
that has to also be as we're preparing our students to go out in the world, whether it's under those sort of nonviolent conditions, because your job and what you want to impress upon them is your job is to get to a safe place so you can call us and come get you so that we can then navigate this world that we find ourselves in, but also to get home wherever you are. But also on the flip side of it is also to understand what are your rights. And so it has to be a joint effort between the academic side of the house, the student affairs side of the house and administration to make
Mhm.
sure that they are fully covered. It is mental health training because this is not the world that we told them they were in, and we've gotta deal with the fact that unfortunately, it was a lie.
Yeah.
We these children have been reared, these current students, all most of them born in the 21st century, grew up going to integrated schools. They have friends of all races, and now the fractures are there. And
Mhm.
so they've gotta deal with the fractures as well as deal with the structures and the systems that they're going to go into the workforce because now the doors are not going to be open. We've also gotta figure out how to open up those doors again. And
Yeah.
they gotta process that, but I think in terms of immediacy, what TSU did, get them off campus, escort them off, you don't have your permit, you follow the policy. It's not about your ideology, you did not follow policy, you are not supposed to be here, you must leave. And so once you do it that way, it doesn't become an emotional thing, but that is it even though it is, but they can't say, "Well, they kicked us off because they didn't wanna hear." No, you didn't follow the policy, and we are open to varying viewpoints, but if you don't follow the policy, you cannot be on this camp.
Yeah. And I do think it needs to be again, I feel like this is where the English, the writing,
Mhm,
how do you stand your ground, learn the other perspective, put together details and pieces and put together an argument. Being able to one, set your ground,
mhm.
also be flexible enough to like shift and see other points, but also to argue other points. Like I feel like that actually,
That
we are like, that's needed in the workplace, that's needed everywhere in family. It's
right.
a whole lot of skills that we don't teach that we have a lot of opportunity in our classrooms and assignments and outcomes that
Mhm.
we could utilize, especially in first year. The first year, you are trying to figure out who you are as a person. This is a
So
whole new world. You got a divorce, what your parents told you. You learning all of these new things and you're trying to figure out who am I? What do I believe?
right, and if I believe what my parents believe, I wanna know it because I believe it.
Yeah.
I think that when people started going into this, we're gonna reduce time to degree, we're gonna reduce that. We took a lot of things out that other people didn't understand, like your speech class, your logic and effective thinking class. your composition classroom, your those soft skills are what determine how you can approach this topic, right? And how you have these debates and conversations. And so that you have your debate team that you're bring because this is the work they're going to have to go out here and defend.
Yeah.
They're going to have to go defend themselves. And if we need to go back some in a lot of ways to the basics and just how we're thinking about preparing them before they know they are prepared.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
almost having to trick them into their preparation.
But colleges should be mini world, a safe world where you is low risk where you can practice being in the real world, and we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. I think every just like I think every class should have writing, I think every class should have oral communication
Mhm. And
because
that is a higher order thinking. It's still rigorous, and it's the hardest thing you gotta do as an adult every day.
and that's that's what I think a lot of people don't really get about why the humanities and the social sciences are important because once I'm comfortable because what we have to understand is that these kids have grown up in isolation.
Mhm.
Not just the COVID years, their very existence even before that, they were playing the game, they were in the rooms. So now we have esports that are coming out and they're playing video games and blah 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 and all of that, but they still have to learn how to communicate in the real world and they have to also learn how to confront
Mhm.
these issues in real time. You can't hide behind a computer. You've got to
You can't
but they can
unfollow. You can't unfollow and block a
right.
person. You gotta
Not a person who's standing in
decide.
front of you who's triggering, who's saying vile and hateful things to you. So we also have to make them comfortable about articulating their point on something as small as why they pick an iPhone over an Android.
Mhm.
And if I can make them comfortable about being able to debate that point or to tell me why this certain text is this, or talk to me about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment and why Black people have this sort of fear, which is not irrational, a fear of medicine and doctors, right? And so if I can get them to talk about those things, that when the time comes that they are faced with something as vile and hateful as some of the rhetoric coming out at them, that they also have appreciation for going into the research hole to be able to give themselves the facts because they've done it and it has become part of their culture and their life.
Yeah.
They can't do that in response to this. It
Yeah.
has to have already been part of the culture.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that they were able to be as professional because Tennessee State does a great job of that the students who were out there on the quad understood the book, the play, right? You trying to go viral. You want to get us in a situation where we're coming out of ourselves and we won't do that. And so, but that has to also be that's part of culture.
Yeah. Because on the wrong campus.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. On the wrong campus, everybody
Wrong campus that would've went
on the
off.
wrong day, on the wrong campus, baby, listen, don't do it. But they're also you also have to engage your students in the political game, in the political sphere. Having these conversations, it's as if and I know this may sound a little morbid, but I tell people as an only child that I had every hard conversation I needed to have with my mother before her
Mhm.
passing. So that
Mhm.
there were no deathbed confessions or instructions. I already knew who she was as a woman and as a person, as my
Mhm.
mother. I knew what she wanted. I knew all of those things because we were having those conversations. And
Mhm.
so you gotta have conversations and be willing to bring people to your campus to inspire your students. You need an Angela Rye on campus. You need a Roland Martin to come and spend 3 days, like we did with the residencies. Those were life transformative events. And so you've got to have I want Roland Martin on my campus for 3 days to talk to students out for, and to engage with them and to really get them motivated. I want, you don't want them to just come in for 50 minutes and then fly back out, right?
Yeah, I want him to teach about how to look at sources. You don't need to be a journalist, but
Right.
if be social media and be careful who you sharing and who you reposting and how do you
Right.
tell junk a AI false article from this and Can you
Exactly.
decipher which voice? Like, they can be
Right,
totally right, but they don't have to believe what you are, but you can still listen to them and
right.
saying, "Okay, they did their work. I don't really believe in what they report now, but I could trust that as
Mhm.
a perspective I can combine and not just some off the cuff,
Exactly.
reporting."
And have disagreements and be able to be okay with the disagreement and defend their right to have a different opinion, right?
Mhm,
And so I think if we make that part of curriculum, you make that part of the experience of the institution, that when you have some fools walk up and try to rage bait your children into something, they know exactly how to handle that and then deal with them appropriately. So that
mhm,
because it won't be the fool.
mm.
Because as I tell my daughter sometimes, when 2 people are arguing, and it gets loud and you can't hear the other, who's wrong? It never matters because both of y'all look foolish,
Yeah,
So the and for narcissists, the worst thing you could do to a narcissist is disengage.
and that's what I say. I wish they woulda walked by silently, be like, "Hey, how y'all doing? Have a good day. Welcome to TSU."
But if you don't have a curriculum with the intention of who you want your student and product to be as a whole, what does that student look like? What does that alum look like?
Yeah,
I would want my students to be self-assured, confident, researched, well-read, well-traveled, all of the things, so that when they are faced with that out there in the wild or even on that campus, and you can bring speakers there that they disagree with.
yeah, and I think that's a
That's
point.
debate.
But it's a safe low risk
Mhm.
practice
Yep.
to bring that, and you can discuss it. You could do feedback. You
Yeah.
can have a talk to talk about how they felt and what happened and a debrief. You can't have that in a real world, but it's the perfect place to have that because without that, they're not learning.
Luck favors the prepared, darling.
Mhm.
Shout out to Edna Moles. Luck favors the prepared.
Yeah,
And if you have a culture of preparedness and recognize how organic it all is to the other, it's not just about security let them on campus. It's an open campus. But security, you can't blame everybody and shifting blame. Let's fix it.
yeah, yeah,
So that if it happens again, make sure our students are prepared. How do we deal? And then are we dealing with their mental health in this space? Because after somebody else, pardon my expression, in a lily white state, in a lily white town, at a lily white event, then somehow it became a black and brown problem. You got to deal with the fact that my very existence is a problem. W.E.B. Du Bois said it, right?
yeah. We're minding our own business. I was just
Why
going to
does
class.
it
You
feel
ain't
to
even
be a
know this
problem?
happened.
Why are we the problem? So and in the words of the great Cardi B, are we the drama? No, we're not. But okay. All right. But I think they responded well.
Yeah. Um, we always say we're gonna do by the time we get to another episode, there's other news. Let's end on this part. I wish I can transport myself to another state, but here we are. And it's not even my state isn't even listed here, nor is yours, but it's coming. I
Okay.
guarantee. I get
I think I
guarantee.
won't be. Yeah. The old was there.
So, the Sex Association, it's what I can't I hate this acronym.
I do.
SAC,
COC.
I don't even have the COC part on here. Oh, no, it is. SACS, the Southern Association of, what is it? It's accreditation, our Southern accreditation. That's
Yeah.
all I got.
Regional accreditors. Yeah.
So, I don't know what SACS would look like after the Southern states pull out of the Southern
Florida,
accreditation.
Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee.
Who's left in the SACs?
It would be
Besides Louisiana, Mississippi, who we know go join
yeah.
later. Nobody's left?
That's it. Now, I find it, there okay, so in all fairness, you got SAC COC and you have that Christian-based creditor for
Yeah,
those that typically go there when they lose SAC COC accreditation. It's interesting because SAC COC used to be very hard on HBCU.
yeah,
And now all of a sudden they're supposed to be like liberal. Like it's So it's
We didn't even get to the
oh, the
meat of
drama.
the thing. So, we have SACS, but there's also a Commission for Public Higher Education. If you never heard of it, don't worry, it's brand new. It's an alternative to SAC-COC, and they drafted standards to emphasize viewpoint diversity, performance metrics, paired back DEI expectation. Paired back, just say nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, even a DEI language in SACS is still fairly young.
Exactly. But the fact that it exists at all.
Like, it was a fight to even get that recognized. I mean, not saying I'm not saying Saks is at all perfect.
Right, right.
They just got retention metrics in there, at least in the last 5 years. I
Mhm.
could be wrong, could be 7, but it ain't been 10. If recognized, this could reshape how public universities in the South do quality assurance, governance, and academic freedom. So, from the things that I've been reading, it could be a co-accreditation, just stupid.
So, listen,
All
this
of
is
this is stupid,
is
but I don't want this my opinion.
vaguely reminiscent of we're gonna whip those Yankees and we're gonna be home by Sunday. They are literally seceding from accreditation.
It is.
They are seceding from accreditation. And what it does, and because it is Southern, it feeds into this Southern lore, mythology, misconception that Southern education is less than. And again, that it is fueled not about academic rigor. It is fueled by this anti-intellectualism, this
Mhm.
anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what it's fueled by. It is a secession.
Yeah.
Now, if these institutions, if they do this, I don't.
My God. I
I
just
mean, we really don't even know what to say about this. It's very new, and Saxosi again has issues, and has had even though Dr. Whelan has done, was a longtime president of
she
SAC-COC
got out at the right time.
at the right time.
I
You
look
would
at her
after
LinkedIn and be
all of this
like, "Girl, I hope you enjoying the freedom."
right? And so imagine what would have been had she still been at the helm of how they would have attacked Sax-COC. And Sax, you have to say the whole name. Sax-COC
I hate all
definitely
of it.
has its issues. I won't tell y'all what she really says, what she really calls it. But I think, what does this mean for Title IV funding, and which is your Pell Grants, which, by the way, we have not discussed, but we're not gonna talk about it today, but
Which
he wants to
part?
rename
Trump
after he
grants?
wants Trump
Yeah,
grants. Okay.
yeah. That's all we gonna do. That's
Again,
discuss
while
it.
I don't have the bandwidth. What does this mean in control of faculty? Senates are under attack. Faculty governance and shared governance is under attack. You will have lower standards. I think if I can't get, SAC CLC won't let me do what I want to do, I can go over here and I can be, or you're gonna have another rise of private colleges because what is this secession from SACS, which is what it is, if it goes through, will be just like those colleges and those schools and those private institutions that after the Board of Education of 1950 against Topeka, after that Brown case, that they started that the private schools popped up. I know in the city of Jackson, Mississippi, we have
Mhm.
Jackson Academy, Jackson Prep. Mississippi College, or now Mississippi Christian University, I don't know if it's official yet. They
I
were a
think
state
hey,
it was a state institution that went private because it did not want to integrate.
I could see that.
And so the moment that the election selection results came in, again, Shonda Rhimes checked the playbook, that they changed their name to Mississippi Christian and got rid of the football team. Now, Imma leave that right there. Imma let y'all let that marinate. Got rid of the
I
football
didn't even
team.
know they had a football team.
So and did it, like, the day after. I mean, the day after. It was a Wednesday announcement after that Tuesday. I mean, we're really getting into that era of American education and American higher ed. What will this mean? Because Saks does not just do higher ed, I think. They also do secondary school.
I know that.
I think so. Some colleges and schools, I have to check, but still the standards, if even if they don't, but you're gonna have a problem because even the alternative accreditor that they have now, the sort of Christian faith-based one, that's the one, and no offense to them, that people go, "Oh Okay, you couldn't handle sex, you went over there. You still got issues, you went over there because the standards are less. And so what the standards here will be won't necessarily they will probably be less, but they will be rooted in racism.
I I mean, to get to where they are now, it's gonna take a long time. They're gonna have to copy and paste, control alt delete some stuff. Like, literally copy and paste and take out what they don't want and say, "Here's our standards."
Yeah, that's what they're gonna do.
Because to get people in, to get the funding, you're gonna have to like, what's the conversation at the board and presidential level to consider in these states?
If this goes through, I think those conversations will be they'll have to make some decisions about what kind of student and what kind of message they wanna send. And those who wanna send whatever message this is sending, they will join this CPHE. And if not, they will stay because this too shall pass. He will not be president always. So they're making long-term decisions based on this very short-term problem.
Don't think this has anything to do with the president. I just think some
But it
people are
it's the
emboldened in their ideas as part
but
of the
because
Project
of him.
2025.
It's because of him, though.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
so once they are no so right now, they are no longer afraid of being their racist
Mm,
selves or
mm.
whatever they're feeling, and so now they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, because there's a new conservative college in Texas, in Austin of all places. It's like on one floor of a building, but
But
who are
here's the
very
thing,
good.
when they pop up in places like Austin that have been traditionally liberal, that's also a statement. They coulda put it anywhere in the state of Texas,
Yeah,
but they're doing it there to attack what they consider to be the liberal evil, right,
yeah,
of diversity. I find it interesting that until the veterans and white women found out that they were also included in DEA. Glory
yeah. I don't think that reality, the weight of it has hit them
has hit
yet.
yet?
Uh-uh,
Maybe not.
uh-uh. Yeah, I don't think it's hit. I don't know what it's gonna take to hit, but, I mean, some people have, effed around and found out, but I don't think it's they in that group yet.
Well, they will eventually. Then we have to be prepared in the meantime. I mean, I have a colleague who says she hates it when I say this, and I say, "When the war comes," at the war, we're in a couple of battles right now, but the full onslaught of the war, whether that is military action, just like they're trying to, with the National Guard and all of those things, you have to be prepared, but you also have to approach it with a level of, "I'm not gonna live in a spirit of fear.
Yeah.
I'm going to prepare my students for the world out there."
Yeah,
And whether that is in conversation just with them one on one or as a group, whatever it was to have them thinking about things in a different way. And we had the death of a student at Delta State University. It was called a suicide. Of course, has been also called a lynching by the pickleball court. So, but I said my students were talking about it because this is somebody who's a peer.
yeah,
And I said, "So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? How are you going to how are you gonna maximize your life and be aware of these things that are happening? How are you gonna mobilize so that we can get people out who would then call this a suicide, if it is in fact a lynching? And if it is not, then I also mourn the fact that this boy has lost his life and has taken his own life, but that he didn't understand the cultural implications of hanging from a tree."
I feel like if it was truly was not a hanging, he knew that implication and he wanted to leave. He wanted
Exactly.
to
So
impact on his way out.
and again, so if either way, you gotta deal with what's going on. Either
Mhm.
somebody lynched this young man, or he didn't understand the cultural implications, and then that is problematic, or he did. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and he did that. And so
Yeah.
he's trying to make another type of statement about that space. And so we don't create these spaces. And I think that as long as we're having this sort of accreditation succession, that's to be thought about. And then we need to start thinking about how we're supporting and not sending our students to places that are psychologically damaging for them.
Mhm.
And right now, and I know you went to a PWI,
I went to both for
yeah,
that reason.
I mean, for
But
undergrad at least,
yeah,
for the undergrad, I think that these spaces are not psychologically safe at this
Yeah.
time and in
I
this.
mean, we had so it was an interesting time, and I don't regret it. I had a very strong community,
Mhm,
Black community of because at the time, Southeastern had increased their admission standards. So at that
mhm.
time, we deserved to be there. We had
Right,
the ACT and the GPA to do that, and so it was a great time to have that around. But at
mhm,
the same time, I mean, I knew what it was, from the South, when
right,
you go into it, but we were fortunate enough to have leadership that protected us. But, I mean, I don't know if I told the story here, but yeah, I was we were the first class back for with football. They brought back football, we were the first class, so that meant I was the second they brought back homecoming, so that mean, uh, 2 years, so 3 years? 3 homecomings in, um, actually the second it might have been my homecoming court. They said was too black, and the white alumni were not happy, and we had as students had to deal with that.
yeah,
We had to go and talk. It was a couple of things we had to go and talk. I was not in that conversation, but because SGA was also too black, we
mhm,
had SGA president who confronted the president and the board about
mhm,
that. And it's some other political stuff that went on and some head had to roll. Yeah, that's a different conversation. But there was some leadership changes that had to do with that. And records were stricken because it was said on
but
record.
because
But
here's the
we had to do but it not saying that you need to go through it. We had the right inputs to learn and to
mhm,
grow and to be protected. And
mhm,
so from that moment, I knew once I stepped out into regular world, I mean,
right.
nothing shocked me at that point.
Right,
I
but
knew how to
you were prepared in that moment because you all were literally fighting for your academic and social experience, but also your personhood. Because when somebody says it's too black, that what does that mean? So you gotta define they've gotta
now
define it.
because black and white voted for me.
Right, exactly. So they've gotta also deal with why does that threaten you so? Because this
I
tell the truth.
graduated in 1920.
Right. Um, but yeah, this is gonna be one to watch, to see,
Mhm.
because they're operating now on the baser instincts of man and their own racism and their own, insecurities, but they haven't dealt with transfer credits. They haven't dealt with what that means, who's gonna lead that, who's gonna fund that.
No, because they are, on one they are singularly focused on one mute point. That's not I don't wanna say mute. They're singularly focused on technically hate, everything. They focus on hate, and once you get blinded by hate, you don't realize that,
Right.
it's other stuff you gotta deal with,
Mhm.
and y'all probably don't even wanna do the work to deal with it.
Right,
So that's why I say it's gonna be copy,
and phase.
chat, can you review this document and insert this language? Copy and paste. The work is already done. We just need to take
Exactly.
out sections D, C, and add in.
Yes, indeed. Well, that is higher ed for you. It's not always high.
Yeah. So coming up next, you will hear an interview with Dr. Olatunji. Dr. O, as he's affectionately called, he has written a book that I can't wait to deeply jump into, but I knew it was coming, so I was very excited. He is our first guest on the show because we got our stuff together to actually have a guest. And so in the next segment, you'll hear our conversation with Dr. Olatunji, author of Don't Let School Get in the Way of Your Education, How to Improve the Performance and Well-being of Our Nation's Youth. So with that, we have a very special guest with us. Dr. Olatunji, you are our first
Yay!
guest.
Okay. Wow. What an honor.
We had to get ourselves together first before we say we will have a guest. But you are for me the perfect guest. So
Oh,
um I would like to introduce to our audience a formal way, but I'll share how I met him first. So when I was in the nonprofit world as an ED, I was looking for an evaluator, and I didn't want an evaluator to just give me numbers because I felt a heart project. And so looking through all the proposals and reading it, I can't even remember I think it was just
Wow.
our conversation, actually, not necessarily the proposal that drew me to select you, but it was, when I saw your book and I was like, "Yes," I remember us, like, connecting on this, and I was so excited to see it. And so he is an author of Don't Let School Get in the Way of Education, How to Improve the Performance and Well-being of our nation's youth. And if you know me from whether this podcast or from my other company, Gracefully Productive, you know well-being is my thing. And
Mm.
also how not to do education. This is why we're called allegedly higher, right? And so that's why he is perfect,
Yeah.
a perfect first guest for this. And so in his book, he argues that too many kids find school alienating instead of inspiring. And that is the failure of not only limits of academic success, but also stunts their contributions to society. He introduces the FACES framework, what we'll be excited to jump into in this conversation. And FACES stands for fun, affirmation, challenge, expression, and success. And this is a way to realign schools with students' emotional and intellectual growth. Love it all. So,
Indeed. Indeed.
welcome, Dr. Olatunji, to Allegedly Higher.
All right. Well, thank you so very much for that very warm introduction. I would just like to add, to make it easy for folks, I also go by the name of simply Dr. O. All right. In fact, my website, I call it Dr. Olatunji Inspires, and is what I use in my email communications. Again, just to make things easier for folks.
Good.
So
Well,
thank you.
Doctor O, welcome.
All right. Thank you so very much. Pleasure to be here and to share this time with you.
We're happy to have you.
So, tell us what inspired you to write the book. You've been doing this work for a very long time. What inspired you to write this book and now?
Okay, well, I have to say that, yes, I've been an educator for more than 30 years, and I've seen trends come and go. And I think what inspired me to write this book is seeing some recurring
Mhm.
themes from the time that even I was a student, which I talk about in the book. And seeing my children gone through some of the same things that I experienced, and also seeing education from many different vantage points,
Mhm.
not just as a student and a parent, but also as a instructor. I've taught kids from college to the university level. I've been an evaluator, as you pointed out, an evaluator of educational programs. And I've also had the chance to sit in the administrator role. And last but not least, that of a researcher. And it has come clear to me through all of this that for all the change that we have seen in society, the education system has not kept pace, unfortunately. And indeed, believe that we are undermining the performance of our young people rather than accelerating or facilitating it so often because of some things that I think we'll get into in this discussion. But basically, I point out to the problem as I see it as being alienation from school.
Mhm.
And this is a problem where I believe kids are emotionally detached from the educational process. And so, certainly, this is nothing new, but I do believe that in my book, through my diverse experiences and longevity, I see it through different lenses and bring some light, hopefully, that wasn't there before, so that we can address this and deal with it.
So you talk about alienating. What are some examples that you've seen from your range of roles, from in the classroom to administrative? What are some like specific policies or instances that you like can concretely connect to like those alienating type of things instead of empowering?
Okay, well, let me use an example for higher education. Not that long ago in my hometown, New Orleans, there was a story that came out in the news about a young man who did well academically in high school and went on to higher education locally upon the advice of a faculty member at his high school. Say, well, hey, you've been getting good grades. You're certainly good in math and science. Why don't you go over here to the local university where they've got a great STEM program? and sign up there and get into pharmacy. And so he did that, only to learn, however, in the very first year, I hate pharmacy. I hate STEM. I don't like it. So here's the concrete emotional detachment. But because of the storyline that we are often fed from the time we're in kindergarten, you go to school to get a good education, to get a good job. Okay, so he was directed in that fashion to get a good job. STEM is high demand area where the good jobs are. So go do that. Only to learn that that was not what he wanted. And to make the story short, long story short, he ended up dropping out of the program. And that was not the worst of it. Not only did he drop out, he was not able to re enroll to pursue his passion because he had so much debt, he was not able to pay for just his transcript. Okay. He well, rather they withheld his transcript because he could not pay off his loans once he dropped out. And so I think that was very tragic. I think it's a very concrete example of someone being disconnected from the educational system, even at the higher ed level, even though, and this is important to note, he was not a bad student. It's just that now, once he got to the higher ed level where it's time to focus, he became emotionally detached because he was now in an area totally unfit for him. He actually was interested in, of all things, criminology. Nothing wrong with criminology, but you can see it doesn't have anything to do with, a little to do with STEM in his case. So that's a concrete example. If I might add just one more, and this one is very important because it makes the point that this problem of alienation affects kids from all backgrounds. The other one that I like to highlight in my presentations is none other than that of Steve Jobs, one of the greatest inventors of our time, one might argue. Steve, his address, commencement address at Stanford University, I believe back in 2015 or so, said that he dropped out of college because he was disconnected from it, because it gave him no sense of fulfillment. And he was not sure where he wanted to go and couldn't see how college was helping him to figure that out. So he left. So here's once again in my book, I talk about the nature of school being so academic and not getting in touch with kids emotionally to the point where they disengage and become alienated from the process. I'll cut it short right there.
I find that interesting because it's happening every day, and so we have these hierarchies, right, within even our community, that if you
Mhm.
are smart, you must go into the sciences.
Amen.
Dr. Wheeler and I had this conversation all the time, but even when I remember going to college and my uncle said to my mother, "Well, I thought she was smart." And she told him I was majoring in English, and
Mm.
he said, "Oh, I thought she was smart." And my mother said, "She is, that's why she's majoring in English." Um this idea that he would the association, you go to church on Baccalaureate Sunday, and when the children get up and say what they're about to do, if you say biomedical engineering at X, Y, and Z institution, they will tear the roof off because there's this association with making it, thriving if you're in
Mhm,
STEM. But if you say history, English, music,
mhm.
anything education, it'll go, "Oh, baby, that's real nice. That's nice."
Yeah.
What you gonna do with that? You know? But, and so we create and then when they get to school and they've majored in the wonderful STEM field that they don't really want to major in, and they don't do
Mhm,
well, then they internalize the failure, and then, of course, it's the higher ed institution that doesn't take the time to say,
mm.
"Okay, this doesn't look like it's working for what is it that you really want to do?" I had a
Exactly.
student once who was a music major and a biology major because she wanted to be a doctor. That's what they told her to do. They told her well, she didn't wanna be a doctor, she wanted to be a musician, she wanted to be a singer. And I said, "Well, what you gonna do with them? You gonna sing to your patients? Because eventually you're gonna get all this money and all this debt, and you'll end up singing in a smoky cafe or on the stage somewhere, but you got all this debt." Because
Mm,
that's not who you
mm,
really are. You can do it intellectually, but it's not a passion of yours. So eventually she not
mhm,
only did she decide to just major in music and become a professional artist, She married a professional artist. I said, "So see, I was right all over." But
Okay. All
those
right.
conversations that we're not having with students in higher ed
Mhm. Mm.
are so multi-layered because it's community and family,
Yes.
because you also have to explain to family why, in some cases, why English is a good thing, why sociology is a good thing, and that they can have a life and a good life majoring in those
Yes.
things and pursuing those things that are their passion, as opposed to just doing what you think is going to make a lot of money, or because, oh, if they're smart, they're supposed to be in the sciences. No offense, Dr. Williams.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
None taken. Yeah, and I echo all of that. A part of, the work that I would love to do is restructuring first and second year experience because we put too much pressure
Mhm.
on 18 and 19-year-olds, and even 18 and 19-year-olds today are not 18 and 19-year-olds of
No, they are
yesterday.
not.
Lord have mercy, they're not. You just need a little bit more time to, like, figure out real life.
Mhm.
And even when we're talking about the classroom part of it, we have to, and even coming from, Dr. Jackson and I coming from, we're like, I don't know if it's 2 peas in a pod or we're opposite, yin and yang, her liberal arts to my STEM.
Mhm.
We
Mm.
both have to talk to faculty about if you want to, like you say, empower and do the and have emotional so students can have an emotional connection. These students today are so kinesthetic. I know they might be old learning science, but they are. Like they are so in touch with the world that they can talk to someone across the world. They can, they have so much technology and real life is happening and, they get real life every
Right.
day. And when you
Mhm.
come into the classroom, it's like, what does this have to do with
Mhm.
me? Or what is like like even just the like drills that go on, the basic stuff when I in my teaching and learning role, I have to talk to faculty and say, just because students don't pass your class don't doesn't mean that your class is challenging.
Mhm.
Mm.
More than likely, it's boring, right?
Mm.
You can challenge them and still have fun at the top. Like, you don't have to wait to senior year to do an application project. You can have an application every day or application where they're actually applying their learning and are thinking higher order in the first year.
Mhm.
If you apply it to like, if you can take them through the learning process and apply it to life and they can say, okay, wow, this is why I need to
Mhm.
know about the egg that
Mm.
splits, right?
Mhm.
This is why I need to know about stem cells and all of this. One, because sometimes you might need it to vote on it in life,
Right.
right? You might need to understand the news and
Mhm.
understand that. So it's always been this tug of war, especially in higher education, to actually get faculty to teach on a higher order level of thinking, which engages everything you talk about in your book.
Mm. Yes. Yes. What's your next question?
So let's get into the FACES model. How did you arrive at that framework?
Faces. Okay. Yeah, Faces is definitely, I think, influenced by my own work in the classroom, my own experience in classrooms. Again, I've pointed out that I have taught kids from kindergarten to the university level.
Mm.
And one experience that I think would make this clear would be to tell you about once I worked in the New Orleans public schools heading a program called Street Academy. It was a collaboration between New Orleans Public Schools and the Urban League at the
Mm.
time. And our charge was to educate the most unmotivated kids. Unfortunately, they had dropped out. All of our students had dropped out of the regular school system. And it was extremely difficult to motivate them, just to come to school. Well, one day, what I did was I came up with an activity for the young men who were in my class. We're talking about a small group, maybe 10 young men, 16, 17 years old, who were still learning basic math. And I said to myself, I got to find a way to hook them just to begin with and make this interesting, enjoyable, valuable to them. Okay. So I'm pointing out that I approached education with a different paradigm. And what I did was I worked out with an arrangement with the auto dealer across the street. It was a Toyota auto dealer. And I brought these young men across the street and told them, look, we're going to do our math right here today. I want you to pick out a car that you'd like to buy. It needs to be a used car. And let's say it's $5,000 and you're going to put down $1,000. So that means you've got how much left that you're going to finance. Okay, so we worked that out, $4,000. Now, what if you have 3 years or 4 years to pay that off and you need to divide that up by all of those months? And you'll start seeing heads nod. Okay. And so where it really got exciting was when I said, now we've done this exercise for my car. Go pick out your own car. Wow. The place, the elevation of the excitement just went through the roof. It was no roof though. We were out in a parking lot. Okay. And the salesman couldn't believe it. We had a salesman who was out there working with me, and these guys were all over, hey, come check out my car over here, homeboy. All that kind of thing going on, you know. And it was just amazing. And one of them looked at me towards the end of the class and said, wow, that was great, Dr. O. I know that I'm going to finish school now.
Wow.
And I just said, wow, mission accomplished. Actually, at the time, I was Mr. O. I wasn't Dr. O. Anyway, but the point simply is it's been through real experience that I learned if you make it enjoyable and if you affirm your young people, make them feel like they belong, okay, and that they're important, and then you challenge them. I never let up on the rigor aspect. Challenge them to rise to the occasion. Give them opportunities to express their interests, as they did with the cars, and then give them the tools they need to actually become successful, to succeed, to have some immediate success. All of that happened around this lesson. And so that was my reflection over years of experience. And I have to say, finally putting it into this book has been a wonderful thing because I think now I've got it to where I can pass it on to others in a really cohesive format, if you will. So I'm going to, in the interest of time, close right there. But it's been through my own experience. I hope that example helps to illustrate why I think faces is so important. And I should add that for higher ed, for all the things we talked about, can I seriously believe boost not only your student achievement, but your student retention when you address the things that I just talked about.
Well, how do you balance or, for professors, how do you balance those strategies with bringing fun and affirmation? Because it's like, well, if it's not rigorous, I mean, we have this idea that, the teacher must be strict and rigor with the rigor of the coursework as well as being fun.
Yeah, so I point out, I make the case in my book that there is no
Mhm,
contradiction between fun or any of the five features that I talk about and rigor. In fact, these two need to go hand in hand. What I feel is the failure now is that we are emphasizing rigor at the expense of the well
mm,
being. And if we were to do the opposite, put the well being first, I think we would find rigor would follow more easily and
mm,
naturally. So, for something like making it fun at the higher ed level, what you might simply do is have your young people to work in
mm,
teams, which is something they will probably need to do in the world of work.
mhm,
Have them work in teams. So often the work is isolated from collaboration. They don't get a chance to do that. Another thing that you could do is use debate, depending on the
mhm,
class, and give them a chance that way to express their ideas and use competition. Another thing that you could do is to use games. And here you want to be careful because it does depend on the level of your kids. Your students will always, I think, dictate the particular
mhm,
methods. So actually, you're not going to use the same games, of course, that you would in high school, middle school, that you might use at the college
mhm,
level. But to underscore that point, there need not be a separation. You can make the experience enjoyable, and when it is enjoyable, it is more engaging. And
mm,
once it becomes more engaging, skill and knowledge develop
mhm.
as well. So no contradiction.
I love
Yes.
it. So my last question is along those same lines. In working with faculty and doing it, especially at like a research intensive university where faculty much they want to do the research, but in order to do the research, they have to teach. And so working and hearing different faculty about shifting their mindset with teaching and learning. If
Mhm.
you were to do like a workshop, what would be your first, even to get them to the workshop, what's something you would tell your like, I know, to tell your fellow colleagues of just how to shift their mindset? I think just
Uh-huh.
with students, the mindset shift comes before even
Yes,
wanting to grow. And some of those faculty, we found that the junior faculty were probably easier because they hadn't quite set
Right.
in,
absolutely.
but still have some of their mentors' kind of
Mhm.
strategies that they've been taught. But what
Yes.
would you say to kind of help them shift their mindset to adopt that this isn't one the best way to teach, and it's not like, how do you get them to even, care
Okay,
about
so, yeah, I would stress to everyone, and let me say that my book is a book whose underlying, I think, primary, not even underlying, overt message, primary message is we need a paradigm
Mhm.
shift in
Mhm.
education. And so I would encourage that paradigm shift with my colleagues at the higher ed level by telling them we need to start out, as Stephen Covey said, start out with the end
That's
in
right.
mind. And we ought to be thinking about how we're preparing young people to be successful in their careers and in life, not just academically, because it has been shown repeatedly that when we have the sense of purpose inside and we are in the flow of our work, these are the things that take us to the next level, that enable us to excel and be far more competitive and creative than just the technical knowledge and skill. And so this is a paradigm where I would stress if you want to leverage the potential of your young people for their long-term success and, for that matter, the welfare of our society, then we need to be thinking beyond just the acquisition of technical knowledge and skill.
Mhm.
We need to be preparing them to develop a purpose and to strive for success using success principles. And so, one of the things that I emphasize in my framework is that if you're starting with the end in mind, think about success. Success has so much more to do with than just the academic
Mhm.
side. There are principles of success. And I tell folks some of the biggest trainers out here that are teaching success, people like Jack Canfield, who actually has endorsed the book, my book, I'm happy to say. Another one is Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins, for example, has a high school education, but has learned psychology so well, he has helped several presidents of the United
Mhm.
States in their performance. He's also worked with star athletes. And what they would all point out to you is that Tony uses the phrase success is 80% psychology and
Mhm.
20% skill.
Mhm.
So, to our academics, if we want our people to be successful and effective, we need to be thinking about that 80%, the psychological aspect of their being, their wellness, and less so, in addition to, I should say, in addition to the technical side or the academic side. That would be my answer to that question.
So do you think
I
I
like
have one more question. I'm sorry, Aaron. Do you think that we have become so assessment driven and based that it has done more to hinder this idea of purpose and life satisfaction for our students?
I do. I think the assessments are good if they are used well. But once the numbers, and this is the failure, is that the numbers have become the
Mhm.
objective in and of themselves, because that for us is what symbolizes growth, progress. That's the target. And I think that is a misguided
Mhm.
target. The target needs to be the well-being of our young people. Do they have a
Mhm.
purpose? Are they feeling confident and good about themselves, as well as the technical aspect? Because let me say this, if you have a purpose and a desire, you will find a way to acquire the skill that you need if you're driven. But if you have the technical knowledge and you are not driven, you will almost most certainly underachieve.
Mhm.
So I like to say that it is better to know what or where you're going and not know how than it is to have all of the know how and not know where
Yeah.
you're going. And so the tests are measuring the know how.
Mhm.
They are not measuring the do I know where I'm going?
Yes. Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, and they don't ask they we could ask that question, but I don't think they have a desire to ask it because that could easily we could easily assess that.
Mm,
So assessment is like we could if we wanted to know
mhm.
if students are confident and know their purpose, there's ways to ask that to get that
Mhm.
Right.
information, but I don't even think that that is a goal or outcome that they are choosing to prioritize.
I can only suggest or stress that, however, if you're interested in improving your retention, your
Mhm.
graduation rates, your student achievement, you want to start asking those
Right.
questions.
E
And I think, especially with your first year students and beyond, with all students, you need to be asking, are you enjoying this experience here? Or do you feel like you belong? Are you feeling challenged? Do you have an opportunity to express yourself? What you like, what you want to do. And in terms of the last one, success, are you learning
Mhm,
more about yourself? Are you getting closer to defining your purpose and how you want to use the knowledge and skill that you're acquiring here?
mhm,
I think when you do those things, it speaks to kids, to young people's fundamental psychological needs. And when that happens, they become intrinsically motivated to perform, to achieve, and to excel.
I love
yes.
it. So thank you so much for coming on to all of our listeners, especially if you're a provost, a president, or a
Yeah.
dean. Please invite Dr. O to your campus, to your faculty and staff institutes, to
Yeah, yeah.
all of those places where we like to bring the big, the teaching naked guide. This is our teaching naked. That should be we should definitely have these conversations. And this is great for first year experience, to faculty, to staff, to student affairs. I think this is
Erin.
this is a book that is great
Mhm.
parents. This is great for all of the audiences who are in higher education. So tell them where they can find it and tell them where they can book you so you
All
can
right.
start this book tour and college campus tour with a bang.
All right. Well, thank you so much. The book is available everywhere you find good books. So start with Amazon. Amazon, it is ranked as a bestseller in educational professional development and certification. So if you are training people to be teachers or those who are already teaching, this is a book you want to know about and get a hold of. Secondly, you can find it, sure, Barnes and Nobles. Again, all bookstores should have the book. How can you reach me as a follow up? You can always find me at droinspires.com. Okay? Go there and you will see tons of beautiful, unbelievable testimonies, testimonials from your colleagues about what the book has done for them, what the workshops and trainings that I've done have provided. I should mention as well that if you need a keynote speaker, I have done speaking on this topic as well, and you'll see some of those testimonials there too. So thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope
Thank
the
you
Yeah.
so
message has
much.
been
I
helpful.
really enjoyed it.
Thank you. All of that will be in our show notes. So his email, the website, and a link to the book will be in our show notes. Let's make this big. I want to see Dr. O on all the college
Yes.
campuses.
All right. Thank you so very
Thank
much again.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Have any parting words?
Well, stay safe, stay centered, heal. We got a long road ahead. I know that's usually not my rant at the end of the
We on the
day.
outside and we tired. I can't even
I mean,
imagine.
it is tiring. So that's why
I
I say,
can't imagine being in these trenches.
yeah, center yourself, heal, and prepare. We will get through it. We gotta laugh at some of this stuff. Hey, and in the meantime, check out Cardi B's new album. If the journey to healing was a person, that's where we are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. She definitely this rollout has definitely taken the light off of the craziness, and maybe episode 6 we'll talk about the White Face Young Thug cover of his album.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No, I don't want to, but I will see it.
Oh, you
Okay.
should Google it now, and I would love to see say Google Young Thug's new album cover.
Y'all,
We are exhausted. This is if you can't tell by this episode, we just died. She's stuck.
Who is this?
I don't know what's the context of the light, the skin lighting. It is, what is that lady from Love and Hip Hop Miami who did the bleaching, hip is she from Jamaica? She did the skin
Uh-huh.
bleaching. I'm not a Young Thug fan. I am a Young Thug Trial fan, not a Young Thug fan.
Exactly.
I am looking forward to his interpretation and rationale for this. I respect all creative pursuits.
Yep. Yep.
I just need so yeah, I just wanted to get that on camera.
Lord today.
We will talk about that in episode 6. I think he pushed his album back to make way for Cardi. I actually like Cardi has a verse on his album, and I heard it, yesterday. Really good.
I will
I like it. That's probably the only thing I will like. I respect everybody's creative pursuits. I don't know what's going on. I just need a nap. I need a nap and to take a break.
Alright. Well, I'm out because that's taking me out. I'm out.
I knew that was a great way to exit. But yeah, check us episode 6. We hope not to be away for too long. But thank y'all for listening and
Thanks, y'all.
come back here.
Alright.
All right.
Thanks for listening. This episode was sponsored by Holistic Higher Ed Solutions, committed to enhancing student success. From coaching to planning, our practitioners empower institutions. Ready to transform? Visit holisticheredsolutions.com and let's revolutionize higher ed together. Be sure to subscribe, review, and join us next time.